Huh.
Guys, it's me again, Rock21, and I'm getting all patriotic here today for my 4th of July special. And to honor the great country we live in, I've decided to assemble what I think are the 10 best bands ever to come out of the great US of A. Let's get started. Kicking off our countdown, we have a band that's not just comprised of some great Americans, but they're also some great Texans. That's right, number 10 is the one, the only, ZZ Top. When they were first formed in 1969, the same 3 guys formed it, and they're all still making music today. And it's really no wonder they've appealed to dozens and dozens and hundreds of people due to their perfect blend of Texas fried funk, boogie, blues, and hard rock. That makes that no wonder they're just one of the most endearing southern rock bands of all time. And also, it's no surprise that these Texans made my top 10 list, because they're great. First great rock band on this list to be from Washington, Nirvana is often hailed to be the last truly great rock band. And it's really no surprise. Their musicianship often was way above all others in the 90s, and even though they only existed for such a small amount of time, their impact is immeasurable. The musicianship is great. The lyrics are dark but still easy to relate to. They're just like, their brief existence had a huge impact. And they're just the last great rock band. Sometimes you don't always have to be the most talented musician to make the biggest impact in music. And that's what the Ramones did. These guys, they're just 4 punks from, like, New York just trying to make music. And people really like that music. I mean, these guys, like, they weren't the most talented ever, but just, that gives me hope. But they just really appealed to everyone. They were rebellious, they were raw, but they were still fun and just cool, you know? I mean, the Ramones, they have to appeal to you. May not be the most talented, but they'll go down in rock history. Some more good old Southern boys. Lynyrd Skynyrd hails from Jacksonville, Florida. And although there was bands making some deep-fried Southern rock before them, Lynyrd Skynyrd really brought that to the forefront. I mean, Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird, everyone knows their songs. And I would say they're probably the most influential Southern rock band of all time. Their songs embody the true spirit of the South, and people still recognize them today. This is a great Southern rock band. I think everybody should appreciate what they've done. It was the 80s when the wild hair bands and synth pop groups ruled the music charts. But then came in a new predator. It was grimy, dirty, nasty, and wasn't afraid to just say whatever they wanted. It was Guns N' Roses, and I wasn't around in the 80s, but I can assure you that when these guys showed up on the scene, they blew everyone's pants off. Because you look at what all these other rock groups were doing, and then you look at what they're doing, just like polar opposites. These guys just came on the scene, just cleaned everyone up, and just ruled the airwaves. And although they've only made a couple good albums, those albums are pure gold. These guys, they brought some grimy, hard rock when music needed it most. Now I'm just praying that the next Guns N' Roses will show up right now in 2017. Metallica is definitely the undisputed lords of thrash metal. These guys, I mean, just like all through the 80s, I can't name like any bad stuff they pumped out. I'm a little iffy on some of the stuff on Injustice for All, but everything else just kicks ass. I mean, this band is just mighty, powerful, they have this perfect combination of just pure heaviness, but then at the same time, they're so talented that even the purest of metal haters will say that they can at least admit that they like most of Metallica's stuff. Also, they were the people who changed my mind about metal. I used to think it was just screaming and Satanism, but they really did change my mind. These guys are just powerful. Man, talk about an influential American band. I can never put my finger on why. I always thought that the Doors were British, but there was always this like kind of Britishy thing they had going on. They just seemed like really foreign to me, but nope. Jim Morrison and the Doors are straight out of the US of A. And even though their existence was very brief, most rock fans can agree that they are probably one of the most influential musical acts of the 60s, and maybe even of all time. The Doors, their music was strange. And, you know, when a band has a frontman who has the nickname the Lizard King, I mean, you know they're going to be weird. But as weird and, like, just kind of bizarre a lot of their songs were, their songs are just fascinating to listen to. They have an organ instead of a bass guitar as well that makes it just very interesting. The Doors have to be one of the strangest bands ever to make it with such mainstream success, but they've been adored for like generations, and it's easy to see why people love them. Weird, wonderful, the Doors. And yet another great Californian band of the 80s. It's no wonder that Van Halen has long been one of my favorite bands of all time. And why? Well, let's see. Their music just rocks harder than pretty much anything out there. All four guys are just incredibly talented. Their music is so complex, but yet it's so fun, energetic, lively. These are just some cool dudes. What a band. Their music is awesome. You can't get more kick-ass than a lot of their stuff. It's just, what a Van Halen. They're just epic. Truly one of the great bands. I freaking love Van Halen. And for number 2, we have possibly my favorite band of all time. The bad boys from Boston, Aerosmith. And why, you might ask? Why do I like these guys so much? Well, basically, they embody everything cool about classic rock and roll. Great bluesy, hard rocking guitar riffs, check. An awesome frontman, check. A great rhythm section, check. One of the coolest guitarists or lead guitarists around, check. Great, wonderful, memorable songs, check. Longevity, check. Even though I'm not a huge fan of a lot of their sellouty, poppier stuff, still, they've been around since 1973 by 5 guys, and those 5 guys are still in the band right now. And although they had their drama, they all came out in the end, and they're all still together. And I like bands with a little bit of longevity. Aerosmith, they have this perfect combination of American boogie, the gritty rock of the Rolling Stones, and the heavy riffing of Led Zeppelin to create pretty much, in my mind, pretty much a perfect rock band. These guys are just beyond cool, in my opinion, and I think they're pretty much one of the most awesomest bands ever. However, there's one American act who beats them out in this list. And we'll get to them after a few honorable mentions. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the revealing of my number one pick. The Jimi Hendrix Experience. Now, 2/3 of the band was actually British, but it's undeniable to say that although they were both very talented musicians, Jimi Hendrix was the soul of it all. Jimi Hendrix is pretty much been unanimously approved as being the most influential electric guitar player of all time. I mean, he has inspired so many artists, from Stevie Ray Vaughan to the guy who made I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt. He has inspired countless artists. He presented the playing of a guitar in a completely different way. He transformed the use of the instrument. He was so innovative. So just, like, the stuff he did is mind-blowing nowadays. Just think about what it would be like in, like, the late 60s when he did all of this. The music that the Experience made in just their couple years of existence was groundbreaking. And I would say that probably Jimi Hendrix and his band is probably one of the most influential musical acts of all time. And definitely the most influential American band. And that's why the Jimi Hendrix Experience tops my list. Well, guys, thanks for watching my video. If you want to see more content, remember to like this video, subscribe, and comment suggestions in the comments below. Okay, thank you. Bye. Happy 4th of July.